Hi everyone, and welcome to our Immersive for Brands Spotlight event. Thank you all for joining us today on this lovely sunny afternoon. I'm sure some of you would rather be outside. Hope some of you already are. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Penny Day and I work as Innovation Officer for the Digital Catapult Northeast Tees Valley. I lead on a lot of the immersive work that we do within the Northeast and also focus on the creative industries. So the Digital Catapult Northeast Tees Valley is delivered by Sunderland Software City, and we support businesses from across the region to encourage the growth and adoption of advanced digital technologies. We also run the Immersive Lab in Proto, which is located in Gateshead, which we encourage you all to visit when you can, and restrictions are a bit less lifted. I just want to give you a quick shout out as well to Lisa, who is our marketing and comms coordinator, who has helped me out hugely with creating this event. We will be recording this session, so if you have to dip out early for any reason, just let us know. This will be available as a link, and there will also be a follow-up blog that will be covering what's been spoken about during the event. So today we'll be hearing from 4 innovative startups from the Northeast who have worked on solutions and products that create a really cool and strong brand experience. So for those of you that might be new to the world of immersive technology is an umbrella term for a section of emerging technology that involves a certain level of immersion. So examples of immersive technologies and the ones that you'll be seeing today could be virtual reality, which is where people use headsets to immerse themselves in a fully rendered and digital environment, and augmented reality, whereby digital assets are overlaid onto the real world. A popular example of this could be Snapchat or Pokemon Go. So we've seen how immersive solutions are really helping the world to overcome issues surrounding COVID-19 at the moment, from AR to demonstrate correct social distancing standards, to VR being used for virtual conferences. With the rise of cloud-based AR and production of lighter and lighter VR headsets, we can see that the landscape of immersive technology is changing rapidly, and at a time when we can't see one another, what better time than to begin exploring how the virtual can, in some circumstances, replace or somewhat enhance our reality. So everyone knows that immersive technology provides an audience or a client with a really great experience, but what we hope that you can take from today's session is how it can connect with clients on a deeper level and provide a way of communicating our businesses or our products when face-to-face interaction may be limited. As some of you may be aware, this Spotlight event will be a precursor to our Showcase event, which will still be running once we are able to safely organise events within the Immersive Lab and the networking space. And at this event, attendees will get a chance to demo the technology that's been spoken about today, and each company will have their technology housed within the lab for the following months. We will send you some more information about all of this when it's possible. And there will also be a panel discussion today. So at the bottom of your screens, you will see a Q&A box. So if you could potentially put all of your general questions that you might have about the technologies that we speak about in there, or if you have a specific question to one of the companies, feel free to add that in as well. So here's the schedule of how today will be running. Firstly, you'll be hearing from Lewis Collins from Aircards, and then you'll be hearing from Andy Little from Animmersion, Andrew Young from Fuzzy Logic Studios, and Vicky Hunter from MAADigital. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be seamlessly going into our panel discussion. So in the following slide, these are our contact details, which we will also be sharing at the end too. So if you have any follow-up questions about the event or any Immersive Lab inquiries, please don't hesitate to get in touch with either myself or Lisa. We also encourage you throughout this event to tag us in your tweets throughout and after the event at DigiCat NETV. And there will also be an anonymous poll at the end, just so we can get a bit of feedback from you all. And it'll only be seen by us, so don't worry about what you put. But for now, let me introduce you to Lewis from Aircards.
Yeah, so hi everybody. My name is Lewis Collins. I'm a director of Aircards. Aircards is a creative and experiential augmented reality and team based in the US. How we like to tell is we design, develop and deploy web-based augmented reality experiences. So to give you a little bit of insight into what that is, what our technology consists of is web-based augmented reality experiences require no app download to view an AR experience. They work, both across standard smartphones, iOS and Android devices. They have a frictionless experience and fast load times. They can be both deployed, online media channels and print. And our services include in-depth analytical reporting, which I'll touch upon in the coming slides. So some of the use cases for what we are seeing and what we are developing on at the moment is various forms of online deployment and print marketing. So print marketing could include augmenting out-of-home advertising. If you can imagine a train station outdoor advertisement where people are stationary for periods of time, waiting for their transport, and they're all holding their mobile device where they could interact with an outdoor advertisement as such. We can do obviously things like product packaging, could be from beer, wine bottles to cereal boxes. Any kind of product packaging can be literally brought to life. Again, print marketing works on almost any scale, from direct mail, magazines, pull-up banners, etc. Some of the ways that we're launching a lot of AR experiences at the moment due to the current pandemic that's happening at the moment is, giving customers the ability to view a product in 3D in their own environment via a website. So for an e-commerce perspective, trying before you buy, very interesting option at the moment where you'll not be get in store to try on, where having the ability to do that in augmented reality is something very interesting for a lot of brands now. So like I touched upon, online deployment is certainly a method of which brands are going to at the moment for providing immersive experiences. And how we like to deploy our experiences is across social media, email marketing, and it can be actually integrated with websites or third-party websites as well. Some more immersive experiences that we build for brands and agencies as well is, it could be portals to take individuals to a specific location, whether that's an attraction, international destination, holiday resort, etc. It could be literally anywhere. Mini games is also something where you're getting individuals to interact with an AR feature as well. And then scavenger hunts are a really interesting one. Navigating through a retail environment and collecting points or discounts as you travel through a retail environment or store. And as well, the possibilities are endless with augmented reality, and we're open to explore other options outside of this. These are some of our amazing clients. So two recent ones which I'll showcase to you at the end. We've launched an AR careers fair for Unilever and Pot Noodle in collaboration with 14 other brands. And then Dell and Intel also had a collaborative piece as well that was used for an AR events booth that wasn't able to go ahead due to COVID-19. And what we'd actually done is just swap the content around. And again, I'll go to these videos and campaign examples at the end. So again, just kind of going back to the ways in which these campaigns can be deployed and activated is, if you're looking at potential forms of print AR experiences, QR codes are a very big thing that can be accessed through a smartphone camera to activate the experience and navigate. We can also embed things like NFC chips, which are embedded in print materials, and compatible phones just simply hold their phone up to the printed material and it's activated itself. Other ways in which can be just a short URL that they type into their native browser, or direct links where they're actually just tapping the link and it's activating the experience. And like I say, social media, massive kind of distribution channel for AR, email for anybody that's got a database of clients or consumers that they would push this out to, or even just on the website itself. So some of the unique features about where we're optimizing AR content is for our clients is real-time content swaps. So the ability to have zero downtime between a content swap and a campaign. So this could be how this could be utilized is, let's say you've got a billboard advertisement where you've got an AR experience that's been playing for say a week, and you wanted to swap or update that content to something different, unique, or a new promotion potentially. We can do that absolutely no problem with zero downtime. So the brand that a consumer isn't getting one experience and then nothing. They're getting one experience and then all of a sudden the next one would appear within the next activation point. One thing that we are finding very impactful is call to action buttons engaged within AR experiences itself. So when you've got consumers inside the AR experience, for them to actually do something on a brand's behalf that they're interested in. So whether that is to find out more, share to a friend, share to social media, there can be any kind of call to action created to fit a brand and a brand's goals and directions. Engagement analytics is something that we are very behind with our AR experiences. So each of our AR experiences comes with an analytics dashboard where brands are able to track the performance of their campaigns. And because obviously it's web-based augmented reality, they're able to track all the basic web metrics. And we can enable just like geolocation heat maps and location reports. Custom branding, if brands really want to go into a custom branded loading screen, a branded domain name, that's totally possible for what we deliver. And then one thing that we're finding a lot of interest from big brands is the ability to actually integrate and retarget consumers or interactions across different media channels like Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube. And then one of the unique features that we've recently deployed is actually building the ability for augmented reality within websites. So if a user is viewing a brand's website, they have the ability to try on an item or see what it looks like in their own home just from that website itself. So this is actually one case study that I'm through, and this is just one of the case studies we're seeing. We're actually seeing a lot more in terms of dwell times now with the COVID pandemic. But these are some of the case study results we're seeing on a print marketing piece that was used for a large financial organization. We're seeing each user drop in on the page twice. We're seeing, on this particular campaign, an average of 2 minutes dwell time, a 23% click-through rate on the call to actions, and a 40% engagement rate for the experience itself. And then here are some just general statistics that we see for AR and obviously what is to come. We're actually seeing a lot bigger engagement rate than 1 minute. Some of the recent experiences that we've launched have seen anywhere up from 6 to 10 minutes dwell time per user. And obviously compatible devices are growing for smartphone devices worldwide. So that is 2.9 billion mobile devices worldwide are all WebAR compatible. And obviously the age range that typical augmented realities users fall into is 16 to 34. And this will just take you to the end of my presentation, but where I'll take you out into some campaign previews that we've recently launched. So this one was with Unilever and a whole cluster of brands that were involved. Hopefully everybody can see this in the volume plays. If not, it is available on YouTube. If you just go to the Aircards page, you'll be able to find all these experiences. And again, I hope my internet works as well for this. has created 15 different booths within one augmented reality experiences, each booth has an induction process where they can apply for an internship. And then the next one was with partnership with Dell Enterprises and Intel. Again, recreation of their 2019 booth that they would have used at their event for 2020, except all we did was actually refresh the content inside to match their 2020 strategy.
In a world of constant change, data has the power to make tomorrow better than today. Michael Dell created Dell Technologies to deliver data's boundless potential, with technologies from edge to core to cloud. Today, as partnerships between people and machines grow deeper, we're creating a digital universe. Data is at the heart of everything, and new planets of technology are expanding human capabilities on an unprecedented scale. Edge computing and the Internet of Things are delivering trillions of new data points and insights to innovate like never before. Machine learning
full video. I'll not go for the full length of the video there, but you're able to have a look on the Aircards YouTube page, and you'll find that there. And then one final one from MAAD is playing with Motley Fool, where they had 3 different AR experiences within one, which you'll see in a second. So when they tapped relax on the beach, it took them to their beach environment. When they went to explore the mountains, they went to the mountains. And when they went to work on your golf swing, they went to an AR experience where the user's playing golf.
Hey fools, Jason Moser here with you, and I wanted to let you know about our big live event coming to you on May 8th, where we're going to be introducing an update to our augmented reality service that we think you're going to love. And I'll give you a hint, it's going to open up an even larger world of investing opportunities for us. So be on the lookout for your invite to our live event.
Direct mail piece that was used to attract their consumers to an event. And that actually takes me to the end of my presentation. Thank you all for listening, and yeah, back to you, Penny.
That was brilliant. Thanks, Lewis. I think a struggle that I often find, and other people I know that work in Immersive and try to encourage potentially non-digital businesses to go into it, is actually it's quite hard to sometimes capture that ROI. So it was that really interesting to see the figures there. But yeah, I'll pass over to Andy from Animmersion now.
Hi, I'm Andy from Animmersion, and I'm going to take you through some of Animmersion's approaches to immersive, in particular, kind of doing sales and marketing for your brand using immersive technologies, and a little bit more about the kind of journey of getting into immersive if it's not something that you're already doing, and how we approach that really. So I shall just share my screen. And fire up the PowerPoint. Okay, so I said I'm Andy Liddell, Studio Manager here at Animmersion. Going to give you a little bit of an introduction to us and kind of why we know about immersive really. A kind of overview of what immersive is for those people who aren't au fait with it, and really how do you start on that journey into immersive. And then some examples of how you can communicate your brand and your products remotely, especially given the current COVID situation. Little video here, hopefully that's all playing back okay, that shows some of the immersive kind of things that we've done. A lot of AR, a lot of VR, and kind of a bit different to other people in that we do a lot with holograms as well, that mixed reality, if you like, MR, where we're bringing up 3D imagery into the real world using glass screens and things. When we first started, we've been around quite a long time. It was pre-iPhone, believe it or not, 2006, the year before the iPhone came out. So we've been kind of constantly innovating with different technology as it comes along. Clearly the iPhone changed the world at the time that it appeared. And ultimately all these other immersive technologies, AR, VR, holograms, virtual events and things that started cropping up more and more often, they will also really change the way that we work and the way that we market our products. We're all about maximizing the reuse of digital assets, and that is a bit of a gobful sentence, but that's kind of anything you currently own that is digital. That could be as simple as a PDF brochure about your products or your brand, but that could be a 3D CAD or step model of a building or a product. If you make valves or if you make trainers or something like that, you might have these digital versions that you use for marketing that we can reuse. We've been around long enough that we're thankfully trusted by a lot of global clients, and that's across many sectors: engineering, manufacturing, retail, heritage, and even the arts and culture in some sectors. So that's a little bit about our background. A little bit about Immersive, I suppose. The way that we approach this is we've got lots of ways of doing client engagement. That's not just engaging with our own clients, but that is our clients being able to engage with their customers and really communicate what they've got to offer, their product or their service. I suppose more recently, there's kind of a divide here about what people consider to be immersive. So the top half of this diagram, your holograms, your MR and your XR, that's mixed reality, cross reality, your virtual reality, VR, and your augmented reality. They're the things that people consider to be immersive, but we're dealing with new technology there. For a lot of people, we're dealing with new user experience. So you're trying to convince your customers to do something that they're not totally comfortable with, as well as convince your finance manager to spend money on a technology that nobody truly understands yet. So you tend to get a little bit less traction, both internally when you're trying to sell it, but also the user base tends to be a little bit smaller. People have got decent smartphones and things these days, but there is always a technology limitation with the top half of that diagram. Holograms, you've got to have hologram screens. Virtual reality, you need headsets. Augmented reality, you need capable mobile phones or tablets, and capable headsets, which are coming next and coming very soon. So something I kind of want to talk about today is the bottom half of this diagram, and that is 3D animation. So taking 3D assets and creating animations that can go on YouTube, Vimeo, that can go on a TV screen at a booth and things like that. Something we call Podium, but that is basically web-based sales enablement. So that is being able to describe your product or your service in context in a really nice visual way using those 3D assets. And then finally, virtual interactive events. So we're building a platform called VIE, which brings together some of those bottom parts of the diagram and starts to lead clients into immersive. So these are all proven bits of technology. They've already got established user experience paths, so people know how to use websites, people know how to watch a video, and that tends to mean there's more traction and there's a bigger user base to start with. It's also easier to sell that type of thing internally when you've got a small budget and that you might not want to risk doing something up on the top half of that diagram. So we've found that that client engagement moves closer initially to those bottom three for Animmersion. And this is a really good way of easing our clients into immersive, because we're building up all the time digital assets, again, that can be reused for immersive later. So the first kind of stop on that chart, I suppose, just get a glass of water, is 3D animation. And as you've already seen there from Aircards, a lot of the content that you end up seeing is 3D content, so that it can be experienced in an augmented reality view through a phone or a virtual reality view through a headset. So you still need 3D content at the start of it. And 3D content really is what Animmersion was born on. So this video that's playing at the right, I'll just leave that playing while I'm talking. Believe it or not, that's not video of a product. That is a 3D render of one of our clients' products. We're able to create graphics that are entirely believable to the kind of film quality if required. And this has been created from a CAD asset, so a step file it was, that the engineers who built this sit-on lawnmower, it is, one of our American clients who makes sit-on lawnmowers for Americans who have rather large lawns. We're able to take their engineering files and generate this incredibly beautiful branded video. And in the process of doing that, we're preparing that model for use in immersive content later. So to Animmersion, all these models are reusable. You can get even more value out of them the more and more you use them down that chain. So we start off with things like that. And that could just be a video on YouTube. It could be integrated into an app, an interactive product manual where you could tap on each of the parts and see where you can get replacement parts and things like that. It could be on a big interactive touch screen at an event so people can actually take the product apart and understand the unique benefits of it, all with that beautiful branded visual style as well. This company, the American company, had previously tried to do this type of thing in film studios. Really, really expensive and time consuming. If you want to take the thing apart, you've got to actually take it apart. Very difficult to stage the shots correctly. So we're able to give them all of that. So the 3D animation is the first kind of point really that we create 3D models so we can take clients into an immersive route. The next step for quite a few of our clients is that they want a way to engage with their clients and their customers by showing off that 3D animation. So we have this system called Podium. It's effectively a very visual website, all runs on standard web technology. There's nothing new to learn, but we're reusing those assets all the time. We can tailor it for their sales team. We can put it out on tablets and they can have it on touch screens at events. It can be on the web. An example of one of the live ones that we've got running at the moment is Metro H2O. So Valve company based in Canada, we generated this beautiful 3D city for them to put all of their products in context so that they can filter the different types of product they've got through the different families. They can see on a contextual map where their products fit in. So a pressure reducing valve, for example, we'd tap that and we drill down to a secondary level that shows the product in context. There's voiceover and data sheets available here as well down the bottom. And there's even further drill downs to detailed 3D animation for engineers to understand exactly what's going on inside the products. So all of these digital assets came from their engineer drawings when they actually built these things out of steel. We're able to take them and bring all of those assets forward. This particular pit that these valves are in, a really nice example here of the journey of that digital asset is, let's go back one, that we're able to move that content into immersive. So this particular video, I hope that's playing back okay, is me in VR with my hands tracked, going through a training scenario in that pit in VR. So again, you can see the 3D models here. The original base was their engineering models. We're able to optimize them down to work on VR headsets. So then you can put an engineer in VR and they can learn how to eliminate all the air from the this particular version was used in marketing at the Las Vegas Water Show. So they had this, you could walk up, pop it on, and a sales guy, there's a voiceover on this as well, would talk you through how the product works. So it's kind of product demonstration on a massive scale, because they wouldn't be able to take this huge actual valve to Las Vegas and get it in there. So we're able to give people the opportunity to explore and interact with products remotely and interact with products using immersive technology. So spinning on to kind of modern day, if you like, we've come up with this concept because of COVID. And it's not that we weren't already doing this, it's just that this has put a requirement on people to think again about the challenge of getting their brand message across, the challenge of selling their products when you can't get face-to-face with people. So as that statement says there, like the term non-essential travel is going to just become a permanent part of the workplace. Whenever we get back to some semblance of reality and normality, we're gonna see companies realizing that they don't have to fly out to Vegas to do this, that they could actually organize an event. People could pop headsets on, look at the products, have communications, and all the usual things that would happen at an event. So there's a challenge here in adapting the marketing and communication strategy for everybody. And there's a lot that digital innovation and a lot that immersive technologies can do to help. So we're pulling together our kind of 15 years of experience of all of these technologies into something that we're calling VIE. And this is about giving engaging communication and interaction with your products, where you can showcase your brand and your products remotely to people. We can bespoke brand the whole thing. You'll see in a moment, I'm going to show you this live. That booth in the top right corner is a fictional Animmersion booth that we'd never be able to afford to build at the Excel, an actual trade show. But it gives us all this kind of scope to do like incredible things with it. We're all about that digital asset management as well. So all the PDFs, the data sheets, photography, video, and everything else you've got about your products can all go into here. It's modular and adaptable so that you can change it over time. And I'm going to show you a little kind of run through of that live now for the last couple of minutes. It's worth mentioning as well that we've recently been successfully funded by Innovate UK to build this platform out. So that is, we're really, really chuffed with that. Going to be able to rocket fuel the development of this. I'm just going to launch something else on my machine here. So this is a live version of our original demo of this that helped us to win the funding for it. Hopefully this is all working nicely, but this is effectively a virtual interactive event booth. These booths could be anything. We've kind of mocked up a trade show booth here, but that could equally be on the bottom of the ocean, at the top of a mountain, wherever your products are best shown in context. We give really simple tools for people to navigate around the booth. So I'm doing this on my screen, but equally, we could have this in VR headsets. We could have this, could even have it on mobile if you wanted to, as an AR app. But what we're able to do is create a 3D environment that you can explore and engage with people's products. So I can use the buttons here to jump to points of interest, or I can simply click on one of them and I'll kind of move down towards, this is one of the, like the holograms that we sell. You'll be able to link in PDF brochures, so I could pop up PDF brochures and read them there whilst I was on the booth. I can even jump out to a kind of third person view, so we can do avatars and things like that. I'm actually controlling this and deciding where to walk now. So if you want, you can give people the exploration kind of excitement of walking around the booth and looking at other things. If I ever walk up to the video wall here, we can obviously play through video content. This is streaming through Vimeo, so there's very low bandwidth use. Vimeo dealing with that. If I go to our little AR table demonstration, we do a lot of AR stuff for real events. So we thought about reusing people's AR models. But the great thing about a virtual event like this is you can do things you would never be able to afford to do in the real world. So when you press play on the AR table, the little AR model comes up, but a real scale car actually drives out as well. So then you'd be able to pop back into third person and you can walk around and explore that product. This could equally be any product you could imagine. The whole booth could fade away and we could focus just on the product. We could add the facility to change the color of the car and open the doors, change the wheel trims, whatever people need to showcase their product really. And then finally, no event would be complete without being able to book meetings with people. So we have lots of ways of building this platform out that could involve having hundreds of people available at the same time, seeing other people's avatars, private invites to the event, booking meetings with actual engineers, or engineers having avatars of their own, being able to click a button and go straight to a video chat so you can talk about a product. And because all of the CAD and the 3D models and that immersive technology journey we've taken the client on has happened, they've got all of those assets ready so that the sales guy can then bring up a 3D version of the product and talk about benefits and talk about how their product is better than the competitors or how it will save somebody money. So hopefully that gives you a kind of good overview of how Animmersion go through that immersive technology journey with our clients, and how that some of those early steps of 3D animation, web-based 3D animation and things can help pave the way to more immersive content like VIE and like taking VIE into VR and things like that. So hopefully that's ran quite well for everybody and everyone's been able to see everything on the screen. If you do have any inquiries later or you want to get in touch, then there's details there of the website and things. You'll find links to the VIE system there, and happy to have a chat about any of that. But yeah, I think during the panel discussion, looking forward to having questions about any of that. I shall hand back over to Penny. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you, Andy. Congratulations on your Innovate UK application, and also congratulations on making valves a bit more interesting. Yeah, and like Andy said, please feel free, everyone, to kind of submit some of your questions for the panel discussion later on. It's looking a little bit dry at the moment, so I'd encourage you to ask us some questions. But I'll be passing you over to Andrew Young from Fuzzy Logic.
Yeah, thank you, Penny, and thank you, Lisa, as well, for putting on this afternoon's event. It's a great opportunity to see what is happening in the immersive space. So I'll just give you a little bit of background. My name's Andrew Young. I look after Fuzzy Logic Studios operations in the UK. We also have offices in South Africa, New Zealand, and satellite in Canada as well. So our operations in the UK are also based in the northeast of England. And as a company, we've been looking at immersive technology since 2011. So we've really been tracking as the technology has expanded due to the new developments in hardware, for example, as mobile phones are developed, as smart glasses have developed, and as Lewis touched on, as web-based augmented reality experiences have changed as well. And what I would just like to start with is actually one of the questions that we get posed often by people like yourselves who are working in the branding and marketing space. I've worked in marketing communications myself on the other side and have experienced what it's like to explore new technologies and new channels in which you wish to use to engage with your customer base or client base. And one of the questions that often comes across is, how does augmented reality impact my business outcomes? Because at the end of the day, when we are presenting anything for proposal to maybe our CMO, our CFO, our CEO, one of the questions we get asked back in marketing is, what is that return on investment going to be? How are we going to see that has added value and also driven sales? Because often in marketing and branding, there's an intricate link between those functions and the sales front as well. And I think we've seen, as we've worked with this technology over the time, that AR really can deliver tangible ROI through driving efficiencies and reducing costs. And some of the presenters today have already touched on some of those return on investments. And as I was preparing for today, I was really thinking about 10 years ago, for example, when we look at things such as social media, if we'd asked ourselves, would that play such an intricate role in delivering marketing and branding content to our customers as a business, we probably would have had a question mark around it. But we look at it now and it's one of the prime channels that we use for engaging. And we've experienced it in the last 5 years that augmented reality and virtual reality and immersive technology as a whole is on that same trajectory. So just to give you a little bit of industry statistics around the impact of AR for brands, businesses are seeing things such as 20% increase in customer interaction rates, 33% increases in click-through rates to purchase, which is obviously a key ROI in the marketing and sales space, and upwards of 85 seconds on average dwell time for campaigns. But what I'd just like to view as well is AR across the customer journey. Often we think about immersive technology as being used in the process prior to purchase. So looking at how are we going to create an engaging experience that our customers are going to want to now engage with our brand. And that is true. There's massive applications that can be used across websites. For example, as Lewis touched on, we're now seeing more and more companies are using AR to visualize product in our homes. I was even buying a cutlery drawer on Amazon the other day, and I was able to view that product in AR prior to buying it. Then there's during the purchase as well. So yes, at the moment we're obviously restricted around having businesses where we're able to meet our customers face to face. But as that changes, we're going to have showrooms will be opening up again, and perhaps companies will want to be looking at reducing the footprint of those showrooms, reducing the physical floor size. And things such as augmented reality allow you to perhaps have one physical product in your showroom, but be able to demo 20 different varieties of that product in AR. And as well, product demonstrations, doing those both remotely and in person. But then there's also a key part in the after purchase process as well. So we obviously want, once a customer is engaged with our brand, we want them to come and buy from us again and again and again. So augmented reality can be used not only in packaging, so creating experiences that are exciting and engaging for our customers, for example, using games it might be on packaging, but also follow-up resources as well. So often inside products that need to be assembled, we'll have inserts which are designed to show us how that assembly happens. But augmented reality can be used to augment those instructions and show them step by step on that physical product as you're building it, but also enable you to do things like perhaps even completing basic maintenance processes on your own vehicle. And that all just adds value to that customer journey and presents another opportunity for you to continue marketing your message to those clients. In terms of augmented reality and opportunities for businesses, there's things such as being able to demonstrate products in context, ensuring consistency of your messaging. So one thing when we're working with global companies is often your sales messages need to be in different languages. So through an augmented reality app, for example, you could have the ability to translate in real time your sales messages into multiple languages. So you're no longer having to print 20 variations of the same brochure to send and distribute across the world. You can be complementing current campaigns. And I think that's a key thing to note. Often when we look at new technology, we often look at it on its own, but it's about how can it be integrated into the customer journey at points which are already available. So for example, across social media, across websites, across brand activations which might be taking place. The use of gamification as well. As a company, we have a very strong background in gaming. And it's not just about creating games for your clients, but it's also applying those principles of gamification, such as rewarding your clients for completing certain tasks. And that's where you're going to see the massive increase in things such as dwell time. Then there's the ability to collect those actionable insights, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to place that report onto your CEO's desk to say, this is how we have delivered real results. So in that, you can be tracking different data points across the experience and putting down key analytics to see how are your customers engaging, and also developing new ways of engaging even more with them. Building online communities. So you may have seen that when brands are launching augmented reality experiences, often they spread like wildfire through social platforms as well. So that's another way in which your brand is gaining exposure. And then things such as reducing cost and being able to measure return on marketing investments. So from a cost front, it might be taking what is typically print material and turning it into an augmented reality experience. So just had to show you some examples of our case studies, which will also link back into that return on investment. So just overall as a company, we've used AR to impact sales, marketing, communications, training, and maintenance. So around communications, that's also looking at internal communications as well. And some of the brands we worked with, brands such as Cadbury, Dr. Pepper, Hyundai, Renault, and Standard Bank. So across a variety of different industries. So this was a solution that we built for Hyundai. So they wanted to look at how can they typically change that engagement process with a customer, because often when a new car is launched, that might revolve around phoning a client to get them to come in for a demonstration, or even sending out printed marketing materials. So we created an app-based AR solution for them, which enables a customer to view the car in their own home and also accessorize it by changing colors, adding things such as roof racks and tow bars, and even being able to open the door and visualize the interior down to the minute detail of how the spec of the paint looks on the car itself. So by being able to do that, Hyundai was able to reduce the costs obviously associated with print material. They were able to engage their customers because it was a more interactive experience and track analytics and customer preferences. And the thing with this is once that app has been built, they can continue to add to that as new vehicles are launched over the coming years. So from the app platform as well, customers could then book a test drive and appointment. And the goal of this platform for Hyundai as well was to say once a customer has accessorized the vehicle as they want, they wanted the ability to then take that live physical vehicle to the customer's home so they could then test drive. And you're tending then to reduce the customer anxiety that they might be feeling in that purchasing decision. This was a slightly different solution, more of a business-to-business solution. So Field and Forest is a luxury dog food company, and typically their sales representatives would drive around the country and have to go into supermarkets to look at where would they position their stand at the end of the aisle. So they would obviously drive around and have a physical stand, which would then take time to set up, and logistically was challenging. So this gave them the ability to, through augmented reality, place a life-size version of the display stand in the supermarket itself. So it reduced logistical and physical printing costs, and also ensured that they could quickly grab the attention of the manager of that store, because often people's time was tight and they didn't have the time to wait for someone to set this all up. It improved the efficiency. Obviously, it was able to be viewed in minutes, and improved the process because they could view different product selections and how the shelves would actually physically need to be stacked. This was an annual promotion that we did in conjunction with Dr. Pepper and a visual effects company. So in America, the Dr. Pepper Snapple Group wanted to look at how can they drive sales of limited edition cans throughout a particular time of year. So we created an experience where if you bought one can or multiple cans, once you put them together and scan that can with the Dr. Pepper app, there was these characters, mini monster characters, which came out and interacted with one another. So it was all about driving customers to buy the complete range. There was 7 cans across the range, and creating an interactive experience, but one in which the user could also record that experience as it was happening and share that on their social media channels. So we made tweaks to that over a period of 3 years, which also helped to reduce the costs associated with that because the campaign could be used year after year, but with just slight adjustments to ensure there was new interest and new intrigue from the customers purchasing. This was more on a brand activation front. So we did some work with South African breweries, which is one of the biggest brewery companies in the world. And one of their brands is Castle Light. So they were running a campaign which was called Enter the Republic. So as the campaign ran, they had a promotional team which was going into bars and restaurants and wanting to obviously drive sales of Castle Light beer. So in order to do that, they had a game which meant that a customer, which they would approach a customer, and that customer would then have to tap and break the ice that was augmented around a Castle Light beer bottle. And through doing that, obviously the goal was then to encourage sign-up rates to a mailing list to enter a bigger competition. So that had a 90% sign-up rate for the mailing list when we launched the application. And there was also an ability for South African breweries to track the performance of their promoters as well. So they could see how their promoters were performing in different regions across the country because they employed a third-party company. And again, this was a great example of how gamification can be used to encourage participation and engagement. And the final one on a retail marketing front, for a furniture company called Valence Home, we did a AR solution which enabled customers to view a sofa and furniture in their home environment. Because one of the big anxieties when you're going through a purchasing decision such as that is, will it fit? How will it look? what color will suit that environment itself. So we created this AR app, which could be used in-store or at home by the customer. And then it would drive through to purchase as well. So as a shopping cart, the customer could accessorize, as you'll see in the video itself, and they could change colors, they could add to the modular sofa as well. And again, there was analytics driven behind that, which could track customer preferences. So as a brand, you can also be looking at what colors are most popular, and perhaps that can inform future product design decisions. Just a little bit on how we can help. So as I said, we've been working in the immersive solutions for 9 years, and we've developed over 70 plus AR apps with more than 3 million downloads. And our team has more than 9 nationalities and 8 languages. And these are just some of the awards that we've been nominated for. In 2013, we were awarded the best AR developer in Europe. And just in the last couple of weeks, we were nominated for 4 awards at the AWE Awards, which was for Best Campaign and Best Enterprise Solution and Best Game or Toy. So yeah, if you would like to find out more around how AR can impact your business outcomes, you're welcome to contact myself or my business partner in the UK, Harvey, and we'd love to just explore how the technology can be used in your company. So thank you very much for your time, and now I will pass back over to Penny.
That's great, thank you, Andrew. I think I've tried your the car one, and I think it was brilliant. I think you make a really good point about how actually it's eliminating a lot of anxiety for customers, particularly within kind of furniture and stuff. It's really nice to see what actually things will look like in their own environment instead of just going into a store. But yeah, keep the questions coming, everyone. I'm now going to pass you over to, last but not least, Vicky Hunter from MAADigital.
So yeah, my name is Vicky from MAADigital. We're based in Gateshead, and we've been around about 25 years creating digital experiences. And that's been a lot of things over the years, but here's some of the brands we've helped, various different digital experiences. What I've done today, though, is just pull out 3 examples of some of the AR projects that we've done recently, and just wanted to talk a little bit about that, really. So the first one is what we did for the Great Exhibition of the North. Obviously, anybody local will hopefully have seen that. The idea was to create an immersive experience that went along with some of the Great Exhibition of the North exhibits. The one in particular that we looked at was based around David Almond's Winged Tales of the North. So it was all about stories of flight and how we could get people involved in that and how we could get people interacting with that. So the idea being that if you had wings, what would they look like? How would you fly? Augmented reality wings, right? That's a great idea. So that's what we wanted to do. We went out to the different areas and we looked at it. And back then when we did this, because obviously the exhibition was a little while ago now, augmented reality wasn't what it is now. So we did some tests and we went to the different environments and it looked great. But because augmentation is usually in front, that presented a little bit of problem with the idea of having wings. So we came up with our ARC technology, which is augmented reality and chroma key kind of blended together. And we just really loved working this project, and it was received really, really well. And we ended up having lots of different versions of it dotted around the city. So it was used for STEM events, it's been used for awards, it's been in schools, libraries, museums, and it was just a really great project to work on, and something that hopefully inspired a lot of kids as well with the augmented reality, but also getting them involved in that as well. Part of the app was so that they could make their own wings. So you could take pictures using the app, templates inside the app to make your own wings, upload them and have your own wings and share your video. And it really was a fun project to work on. And it was one of the things for us that we really enjoyed, because a lot of the time we're doing things for Braun or Gillette and they're not public facing. So this was a really nice project for us and I really enjoyed working on it. And I'm just going to show you a quick fun video. So, hopefully it'll play.
Fly way up to the sky, but I can't. You can? I can't. I wish I could see what folks see in me, but I can't. can't. You can. I can't. Wish I could fly way up to the sky, but I can't. You can. I can't. I wish I could see what folks see in me, but I can't. You can. I can't.
So yeah, that was one project. Another project that we've done was a project that we worked with Siemens. This one was a little bit different. The challenge here was they wanted to bring to life data that was showing emissions and energy efficiency on one of the campuses that they're working on. So the idea was to create a digital twin of the campus and let people interact with it in augmented reality. When we first looked at the campus, it was huge. So we realized that we just couldn't create everything model-wise and things like that with the timing and investment constraints. So we picked the main buildings, and then we partnered with a local drone company, and we did some tests. This is our office here at Northern Design Centre, and this was the result we got from the drone photography and the on-the-ground photography. And this gave us the confidence to go ahead and say to Kiel and Siemens that yes, we could go ahead and build the digital twins of the buildings on their campus. So this is some shots of what we got. This is the kind of stuff we were getting back and the examples of the buildings and the digital twin of the building. So these are some of the other buildings that we did. And just to give a bit of perspective there was 7 key buildings, a car park and some wind turbines, and all together there's probably about 10,000 photography assets. And then there's retouching and texturizing, optimization. But when we did the research for this and looking at how people interact with AR and how they sort of take the 3D models and the environments to their hearts, it had to look like the real thing. We couldn't just use blocks, and the detail is important for people to actually gel with it. So we then ended up with the challenge of how do you then get people to interact with this environment? So you've got the campus, you've got the buildings, how do you then get people to look at the data? How do you get them to get a bit closer? So we used the camera tracking so that when you were close enough to the building, it would highlight, it would pop up a little bit of information, and you could scale, rotate, but each building had its own panel that you could tap on and it would bring up more information that was more about the efficiency or emissions. They all had that. So this is how the campus actually turned out. So this is what you placed in augmented reality. You can rotate it, you can scale it. It turned out really, really well. It was made for iPads. Here's a quick fly through. Gotta get it to play. So yeah, we think that the details really helped, and it's gone down really, really well with everybody involved. So much so that we're actually in the process now of expanding the campus. So we started with the 7 buildings and we're now looking at the rest. And the data that you're seeing popping up in the buildings, that's actually real data. That's one of the things that I've always loved about working with MAADigital, is that we're always looking at different ways to add functionality to things. So it's not just, look how cool it is looking at the 3D digital twins. It's also relevant. It's showing real data being fed in. I'm just going to move on to the next project, another project that we've done with Siemens, but again, a little bit different. This time working with their comms team. They wanted to celebrate 170 years of innovation in the UK. So the idea here was for us to create an augmented reality timeline. This has tons of possibilities. You know, there's all sorts of stuff you can do in AR, all sorts of ways you can recreate the past, and you know, there was lots of different options here. Again, you always have a budget and a time constraint. So we picked some key points of William Siemens' life and decided on our timeline, but that in itself then threw up some issues for what we wanted to do. So we have a timeline where you have 3D models based on William Siemens' life back in Victorian times. So what we had to do was create our models. And to do that, we needed a wardrobe, and actors and photogrammetry. So this is how we started looking for the Victorian costumes. We used the photogrammetry rig in Proto and managed to get some really good results. That's some of the results that we got. So that's Alex in the in the rig, and on the right is some of the results we got back. Then we had to make those models look like William Siemens and his wife. So we then had our 3D heads attached to those. And this is how they turned out. Then we took the models and we needed to make them move around and walk around like real life. So we did a little bit of mocap for that. Just a quick sample of, just to show you what we did. And then you had scenes that actually moved the way a person would. So when you see our timeline, we're using the same type of functionality as we did with the Siemens Kiel project. We're tracking the camera, so when the camera gets close to that scene, the scene will highlight, the models will move around. There's also audio, just not on this video clip. That's another quick one. Again, when they launched the Faraday ships, the cable laying. So that's another quick look at some of the scenes. So there's 5 scenes altogether, and it's just a quick look at William Siemens' life. And I really love this project because it's showing people the history, but also getting them to look at it and learn it in a fun way. So the idea is that once this is finished, because it's due to launch soon and it'll be public so you can get it from the App Store. But the idea is that you can learn the Siemens history and in a fun way. And their plan is to send it out to all their staff. And then it can be updated and other things can be added at a later date. But yeah, another great project to work on, and just a little bit different to what you're seeing in AR at the moment as well. Okay, so yeah, I haven't got stats and I haven't got any other stuff. I'm really just wanted to show you some of the stuff we've done. So yeah, if you have any questions for me, that's my details, and I'll hand back to Penny.
That was brilliant. Thanks, Vicky. I think I really enjoyed how diverse all your projects were. It looked like you really enjoyed that Victorian dress.
The things you have to do. But you see, I think this is one of the things that I love working with the technology, because there's so many different, there's a myriad of possibilities that you can use it for. And it's just so much fun trying to work with your clients and work out the best way to show what they want to do. It's not always AR, you know, but when it is, it's always fun for us, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, definitely looked it. So I'd like to invite all the speakers back for our panel discussion. I've seen some more questions pop up, which is lovely. Keep firing them in though.
Oh, questions.
So I guess I will start with one of the ones we have in the Q&A, which is a bit of a general one. So I'll leave this one open to everyone. So what are the biggest mistakes brand marketing professionals can make in terms of considering developing or implementing immersive experiences? I realise you're all on mute.
I've just turned mine off there, Penny. I think before they start to think about those possibilities, from our perspective, is working to a goal. What's the end goal, or what do you want the what do you want the immersive experience to assist with? Would be my kind of question back to that. We like to feel that it has, immersive experiences has a utility to it. So what would that be as such from that?
I agree exactly with what Lewis is saying now. We're in the era now where, I suppose, when we right back in the iPhone days, people were making apps for the sake of making an app, and we're starting to get to a saturation point with AR, certainly, where everyone wants to do AR for AR's sake. And as Lewis says, making sure they've actually got an end goal, a reason for using immersive technology over something else. Otherwise, yeah, you could be spending a lot of budget on something that could actually have a better impact as another type of technology. Yeah.
I think I'll just, also completely in agreement with what Lewis and Andy said. And just to add on to that as well, I think it also comes around to the release plan as well and release strategy. So the same as when we think about building a new website for a brand, there's got to be some way of driving that traffic to your website. So when it comes to releasing, for example, an AR app or AR experience on the web, a company needs to really think about how are they going to communicate that to their customer base or release it. So that's one of the key stages in our process, is also to look at what is the release plan for that, because unfortunately, like with websites, it's not a case of build it and they will come. You've got to communicate that effectively with your existing and new client base too.
Yeah, it's 100% agree with you there, Andrew. If it's not a magical pill or a cure that's going to solve all your business problems. Like if you build it and nobody knows about it, then there's, there needs to be some form of strategy, like you've said there, Andrew, to really drive that adoption. And education as well could be an interesting one, and not all, obviously AR is definitely being used a lot more with the likes of Snapchat, Facebook, all integrating, and even TikTok now. So the adoption's definitely coming, but to educate people as well on how to use your specific implementation and how it's going to benefit the end user, I think is quite powerful.
Yeah, it's about kind of avoiding tech for tech's sake, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So we had another one that I saw in the chat box. So could any of the panelists elaborate on the impact of 4G and 5G on the immersive industry if we compare it to previously 3G technology?
Yeah.
On behalf of VR, but I'll let Lewis or Andrew take, or Vicky take the AR one.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to jump in there if or anybody else wants to join in. But I know obviously I suppose we've been exploring these issues for a while now, in the likes of what 5G will bring to the table in terms of a web-based augmented reality solution. You're looking at an increased capacity of 50x what the max currently is. So potentially, you could be looking at, obviously web-based augmented reality has a download time, that it needs in order to activate and showcase. So with 5G, you're looking at in terms of a file size of around 1 gig and to be deployed within seconds. So that kind of poses the question. You can add more sophistication to the models, more interactivity, more detail, and yeah, much more potential would be the bottom line in terms of what we currently have with 4G. It's here now. I can speak from our experience that our typical web AR experiences are launched within 5 to 15 seconds once activated. We have a very clear focus on the customer journey and building the experience, obviously with the brand's goals behind it, but also how's the user going to experience it. We don't want to build something that's so big that's going to take too long to download. So that's definitely, and that goes for apps as well. So that's where we see where 5G is going to be a huge beneficial impact for ourselves.
Well, yeah, I think, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think I agree with you there, just completely, that the faster delivery and more combinations. So like back a couple of years ago, you were looking at AR and things, and there's lots of different things you couldn't do because the phone wasn't good enough, the camera wasn't good enough, the AR kit wasn't good enough. And now you've got like NVIDIA and 5G, and you've got all sorts of really cool stuff happening, and it just keeps getting better and better, and you're getting wearables that are better, and there's just, again, it's just so many possibilities. But yeah, going back to the question, 5G, yeah, just faster, better, quicker,
Yeah,
More cool.
it has a massive impact for VR as well. Probably, well, it would be for both VR and AR, but it fundamentally changes the technology and the hardware for VR. So with AR at the moment, most people are experiencing AR through their mobile device, which is a relatively powerful computer, able to do the things that you've shown examples of today. With VR headsets, as they become 5G enabled, they're going to be able to, because of this expanded bandwidth, being able to bring content much quicker to them. The VR headsets themselves will become dumb. They'll become less and less computers and more just receiving image data from somewhere else. So if you've heard of Google Stadia or any of these services which are enabling people to play AAA computer games that you'd normally need a £2,000 PC or a really expensive console to play, you can now play them on a rubbish phone from like 3 or 4 years ago, because the phone isn't doing any of the calculation. The calculation's done elsewhere on the cloud, and you just get all the frames and your controls go back. For VR, that will totally change the landscape of VR. So no longer will you have a headset connected to an expensive PC or something like Oculus Quest, which is a decent computer in its own right. The headsets will get cheaper and cheaper, lighter and smaller, and all of the compute will be being done on the cloud. And it's at that point that VR and AR will converge into one headset. You won't any longer be needing to hold up a mobile phone to look at augmented reality. You'll have a very slim headset that will have clear lenses so you can see augmented reality, or that can be completely blocked out so that you can go into virtual reality. And that sounds like sci-fi, but it absolutely isn't. Those headsets are in production. The Vajo X2 and things like that, they're doing that with cameras now. And as soon as Facebook get their marketing and brand, funnily enough, correct around Oculus Quest and Quest 2, VR headsets and then the kind of AR headsets will become something that is in everybody's home within the next couple of years. That we are, because of 5G, that is going to hugely change.
And I think, yeah, just to add on to that, I think it speaks volumes that EE, when they launched their 5G network, they chose to do it with an augmented reality experience. So it kind of immediately placed how 5G is going to play such a crucial role in making the technology, both AR and VR, more accessible to the masses. And it will become again, more of a consumer product that we're consuming every day.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think as well, combine that with, like you said, Andy, kind of the increase in how we're getting lighter weight headsets, and also the least tethered ones we're getting. So the Oculus Quest was kind of revolutionary in the VR scene, and I think that combined with 5G is really going to drive the mass adoption of VR and AR, I suppose.
Yeah.
We're having loads of questions. Sorry, carry on, Andy.
I just said Facebook, because obviously Facebook own Oculus, if any people in the audience didn't know that already, that Facebook are in an incredibly powerful position. One, because they're Facebook. Two, because they have the biggest adoption of their headset, the Oculus Quest, which we've mentioned a few times. They massively exceeded every sales target that they expected to have for Oculus Quest, both in hardware and in games and software that was sold for it. They did not expect the success that they got, and because of that, so much more money is being invested into that from Facebook. They will hopefully launch Horizon this year, which will be their kind of home space for Facebook VR, which will start to make it something that everyone has in their home.
Definitely. I've got another question here as well. So what would you advise as a first step when trying to engage non-digitally savvy audiences? I've stunned you all.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to how you're designing your user experience and your user interface, be it on app-based platform or on web AR. So it's about creating something and having sometimes a standardized process that people become familiar with. So often when it comes to building some of our AR platforms, we've sort of developed a standardized process of how you engage with that 3D digital twin, for example. So people become familiar with tools. It's all about that repetition of using something again and again. And I think as well, it's about, often it's your communication again around the release of a particular product, and training you give to staff who are perhaps then engaging with a consumer as well, ensuring that they feel comfortable demoing that with a consumer as well.
I think it's easy to look to 5G as being one of the saviors of all of this as well, like the non-tech savvy end customer. So we've developed AR trail apps for heritage organizations and things where some of their customers are older couples who are coming out to the North York Moors or going out to an area of kind of outstanding beauty. They don't have a really powerful smartphone, so they can't engage in some of that AR content. And because 5G will unlock some of that, it's going to take a couple of years that even people who aren't that tech savvy, their very simple devices that they have will be able to do a lot more because of that technology. And that will help to help some of those non-tech savvy people into it, I think.
I think from my perspective as well, it's the education on you know, if it was, you know, if it was to get adoption within an organization, within potentially an older generation, then education on why we should be, you know, looking into these and how could they be beneficial to that organization specifically. In terms of adoption, just in the general population, like Andy's just mentioned there, you know, we are seeing more smartphone devices being bought, and obviously, you know, the older generation are kind of, you know, especially with the current pandemic now, they probably are having to look at different forms of communication methods, whether that is, you know, the likes of you know, Skype or FaceTime and different technologies. So I think it will be, you know, especially when they maybe have a little bit more time on their hands than they would potentially normally do, they could look at different ways to communicate and educate themselves to how they could utilize them and interact with them as well. And so if someone sends, you know, if an invite to join Snapchat, for example, it may take a little while for them to get it, but if they're on Facebook as well, they might see like face filters or different forms of AR interactions that they can engage with and potentially send to their friends, family, people that they communicate with. I think it's all becoming slowly and surely more adopted within all generations as well.
Yeah, I think it's almost about demystifying the terms a little bit, isn't it? Because I think if I was to say to all of my friends, oh, what is augmented reality? They would say, I've got no idea. And actually a lot of them will be using it every day when they use Snapchat or Instagram. It's just kind of actually understanding sometimes what that technological terms are. So we've got probably time for a couple more questions. And one of the questions is, so how long do you guys think that it will take for hardware costs to become less of a blocker, particularly for VR? And on this, I was quite interested to know as well, when someone is potentially looking to adopt these technologies, I think sometimes what can be quite daunting with immersive is potentially the cost that it might incur. So what would you advise to someone who is looking to adopt immersive technology, and what should they look out for when looking at budgets for these kind of projects?
I think coming back to what Lewis said right at the very start is you have to have a really good reason for choosing immersive in the first place, that it's doing something that another technology wouldn't be able to do. So kind of step one is like kicking the tires of, is this the right technology to use? And then once that's established, I think the hardware cost of VR has come down dramatically, even in the last probably year and a half. we were doing projects. You saw a clip of like one for a crane operator on a £1,000 VR headset. That same £1,000 VR headset is now £400. I don't even think you can buy them new anymore. It moves that quickly. The Oculus Quest, which his name keeps coming up. I'll throw in another one, Pico Neo, because they're not Facebook, but it's very similar to the Quest. Those headsets are around about the same price as a games console, so in that £400 to £500 bracket. There is also lower spec headsets at the kind of £200 mark, like the Oculus Go and things. It's always about looking at what the hardware can do and making sure that the outcome, as Lewis said earlier, is going to be hit by that hardware spec. So in some cases, we've seen clients think that they need to buy £1,000 worth of VR headset, when in actual fact, what they want to do can be approached slightly differently and be rolled out on a £200 headset. So they can buy 5 of them for the same budget and get it out there for more people. So it's crucially important you think about the final deliverable when you're looking at hardware cost.
And I think, yeah, just to add on to that, there is a perception that immersive technology has a huge price tag attached to it. And I think one of the best ways to sort of demystify it is also just to speak to companies working in that space. As Andy said, often we'll get approached and a client will say, oh, we think we need X, Y, and Z. But when you break it down to look at what the job is that they need to be done, you can immediately cut a lot of that cost out straight away. So I think it's about allowing whichever company you're working with in the immersive space to kind of partner and walk that journey with you and sort of advise you in that process, because there's a lot of information out there on the web, and you can go and do lots of Google research to say, how much will it cost me to do X? And often the amounts that you're getting there are very generalist. And it's more about looking at what is the bespoke solution and allowing that team to innovate and see how, you know, we may even be able to deliver something that's at half the budget you thought you were going to pay.
Yeah, and just one other one. Sorry, Penny, I just saw you about to speak. But,
I was just going to agree with.
I think in terms of just general adoption for VR, obviously it's picking up a lot of traction in gaming, and I think that's where it you know, the use of it in terms of a consumer's perspective would pick up massively, is when gaming starts to go down that way. You know, in due course, and it is being used right now, but obviously to be further adopted in the coming years as well with the gaming side. You know, I don't know how many people log into Xbox or PlayStation, but there's a lot of them, and that's where, you know, if you were to integrate like a VR game, that, you know, that's when potentially consumers may more heavily adopt a VR approach.
Yeah, and that's where Facebook have been so surprised with Quest. When Quest came out, they put some targets in place for the sale of games on Quest, because really that's what Quest is. It's a VR console for gaming, and they just smashed every target that they expected to hit, and were blown away with that. And the headset itself sold out around the world. They didn't make enough for the demand, and then when they started getting back orders, it was on a 3-month back order worldwide. So it was taking 3 months to get a Facebook product. It's like the worst marketing they've ever done. They made a product that's so good, nobody can buy it anymore. And then just as they caught up with the back orders, COVID hit. So they're still like low on stock. So there's more people wanting that piece of VR hardware for gaming than people have in their hands. People are still waiting for pre-orders on it, which is a really exciting time for companies like all of us to be around, because immersive technology is bleeding through into people's everyday. As Penny said, people don't know it, but bits of the technology are bleeding through into what they're doing. They're using Snapchat filters and not understanding that that's AR. They don't really need to understand, but it's going to help everybody to come to terms with the new tech. Apple have just not not announced, it was accidentally announced because somebody ripped it off one of their servers, I think. They're Apple glasses, basically AR glasses made by Apple. And of course, as we know, when Apple actually launch a product, it's usually very well marketed, very well launched, and adoption comes 6 months after Apple launch a product, something new like that. So they've been keeping quiet about their AR and VR approaches for 5 years now. It's been all like under the table dealings of what's going on with Apple, and it seems that it'll be an AR set of glasses coming in the next year or so, which will really help everyone, I think.
Definitely. I think once those big names get involved as well, we're just going to see it just explode, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I suppose one more question is, which industry / sector is leading with the adoption of immersive technology? So I'm going to put another one in that as well. Do we think that this has quite a lot of applications within the higher education field as well?
Yeah, I'll start, I guess. That because I know from years and years ago, you might remember Google Glass, which everyone laughed at. It was like a very small pair of like framed glasses, and that was augmented reality, but it was a tiny little display. It wasn't 3D graphics. It could bring up text, information, and things just floating in front of your eye. In terms of adoption, the manufacturing sector, BAE Systems, who make all the bits for aircraft, well, not anymore, there's no aircraft, but before COVID, made lots of bits for aircraft. They were looking at, they're actually using a version of Google Glasses so that their engineers could wire optical looms. So it's a human-only job. It's very fiddly. They were having to look at manuals and make sure they were wiring the right bit to the right bit. But all that information was coming up just on their eye so that they could maintain their focus on that particular task. So tasks that are very technical, that require you looking at documentation, looking at diagrams at the same time as doing a hands-on task. Those sectors are using AR headsets and AR glasses and single eye overlays and things like that. Obviously military, who are using that for all of their pilots, have got AR goggles now so that the information comes up in front of their face. So those sectors are pioneering it, but the technology is very expensive at that end. It takes a while for it to kind of dribble down to us and to end up in consumer devices. But I would say manufacturing, automotive are all really big on those immersive tech things at the moment. Yeah,
and 100% agree there, Andy, and I suppose like professional development is another big one. You know, one thing that we're seeing is for us specifically is advertising being a big part of you know, the immersive space. You know, you do have obviously, you know, Snapchat, Facebook, and TikTok now all looking in this space where they'll be creating, you know, AR ads potentially and exploring that further. And then integration of like, you know, try before you buy in home. You know, will travel realistically resume before, you know, 2020? I'm not very certain myself. I'm thinking, and I've had a couple of conversations with a couple of people in the space, and they're thinking more 2022 for things to resume in terms of the travel. And then obviously I know one thing that we've talked about today is the events industry. In the UK alone, it's valued at 39 billion to the economy that it delivers. So you know, a big industry that has been massively impacted with, you know, job layoffs, furloughs. It's definitely something that I see immersive experiences disrupting, and is disrupting right now. So that they would be a couple of things to add on Andy's as well.
Yeah, and just to add on around the higher education point, I think higher education is an area where we've seen predominantly more virtual reality, perhaps, going back over the last couple of years. But again, due to the current situation, we're seeing universities are now announcing that they're not going to start in-person teaching again until 2021. So I think in the higher education space, universities are going to have to look at both VR and augmented reality for certain courses. If you think around, mechanical engineering or courses that require a lot of work where you're doing things with your hands and looking at machinery, where paper-based diagrams fall down is that you can't actually pull something apart and physically look in it. So where typically you would do on-site visits as part of a higher education program, I think, as Andy mentioned, in the manufacturing sectors and training sectors, we're really going to start to see that growth, I think, now even more so. We had an interesting conversation a few months ago with someone who was looking at higher or education in general for immersive technology. And he was saying one of the potential stumbling blocks is the teaching staff themselves, that they've now got to, their time is so short anyway, that they've now got to take what is their typical teaching material and think about how it can be used in an immersive scenario.
Yeah.
And obviously there's curriculum that people have to stick to. So that's some of the potential challenges in that space. But it's definitely there.
Yeah, and as soon as one-to-many communication like this, where a tutor can talk to 100 students at the same time without them all being in the same room, is obviously really positive and is kind of getting us through this crisis at the moment. But the next step, as Andrew just said there, is that those people can all log in and the tutor can not just talk to them and show them worksheets or photographs on screen, but they can all see a 3D model together and they can investigate how it works. So if they're doing an engineering course, it's about the engineering behind this particular vacuum pump, or they're able to do much more practical things with really immersive 3D content. And that for one-to-many audiences, the technology is already there. That's what the basis of this VIE platform is for us, where everyone can, if they've got a headset, they can put a headset on and be surrounded by the product and lots of other people's avatars. Or if they haven't, they can just visit on a screen. It's like playing a computer game, but your teacher or tutor is taking you through how to use that particular product. So those things for higher education, I think, will revolutionize it. I don't see in 5-10 years' time, certainly, why everyone would need to be traveling places for education. They'll be cheaper and probably better engagements had online. Because ultimately, when you go to university, you sit in a lecture theatre and the tutor's miles away anyway. It's actually more engaging doing it virtually.
Yeah, and to add to both Andy and Andrew's points there, there's no reason why, when things resume to normal, that these technologies still can't be used. That's another, there's no reason if you were to do an event, as an example, if you didn't have to fly halfway around the world to attend, you could actually attend virtually as well. There is possibilities there, and that opens up potentially different commercial opportunities for these companies, especially events companies. If you want to attend in person, it's X. If you want to attend virtually, it's a slightly discounted rate, but it's more scalable, accessible to a larger market on a global scale.
Yeah, and the event organizers have got to think about this now, because this is COVID-19. COVID-20 will come around. COVID-21 will come around. This won't be the last pandemic we have. People have got to think about mass gatherings of humans and how we get around this in the future. It's a good warning shot for some of those big industries like that.
Definitely. Well, I think that's everything. So a huge thank you to everyone that's attended today, and a massive thank you to all of our speakers. You've all been brilliant. Just to remind you all, we will have a blog coming out with kind of all the details of this, and then also a recording that will be sent everyone's way as well. So I hope everyone has a lovely weekend, and that's all from us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Paddy.
guys. Really appreciate that.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
See you
Bye,
soon.
everyone.
Bye.
Have a great
Bye.
weekend. Take care.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.